excited!
Good evening and welcome to the Orville Review Show. That's right. This is Orville Season 2, Episode 13. Tomorrow. All right. And of course, we have my favorite people ever with me, because without these guys, I would just be an idiot who doesn't know any of the characters in the show and would not
just
be able
not
to
their
explain.
names.
It's not their names. You know the characters. You just don't.
I know the characters. I just don't know their names exactly. But anyway, of course, we have Mr. Mustache himself, Kevin Millard. Look at that glorious mustache. It's just glorious. Do you comb it and stuff? No.
Yeah, all the time.
Excellent. That's proper. And a man
mustache.
I was getting there.
Okay.
The man who has a mustache that isn't as aged, but certainly is decent quality. That, of course, is the producer extraordinaire. That is Dave Mater.
Yes, decent quality mustache. I like it.
Decent quality mustache. I can't give you the Kevin Millard seal of approval. But
but it's passingly acceptable.
Oh, you know what? For the time period, yes, absolutely. I'm sure that didn't take as long as Kevin.
For the time period,
yeah, for the amount of time that you've grown said beard. Mm-hmm. But you know what, guys? There's one person that just takes it past that, takes it past the glory of the beard and the mustache, and that, of course, is Mr. Adam Woodward.
Hey guys, I broke out my Star Trek Christmas sweater. Just I know this is the Orville, but I'm feeling festive.
It's you know what, in spirit, it's fine. I think McFarlane would be completely fine and on board with that sweater, so I think you're okay.
All right, thank you.
But anyway, as I said, we are going to be dealing with Season 2, Episode 13 tomorrow, which is basically an episode that starts the time distortion arc, I guess, of the, we get a couple episodes that are linked to this, and then it goes into the bigger and the badder, which we'll be discussing next week's episode. We'll be doing that, obviously, and then that'll be it for this year, guys. And then after that, we'll be coming back. I can't remember what date we're coming back, but we're coming back, I think, the second week of January. So we'll see.
For season 3, right?
For season 3, and we're gonna be going full tilt into that, of course, like we always do. And I don't know, guys, what do you think of this episode? I remember not liking it, and yet again, I've been surprised by on the rewatch. I actually enjoyed it. So I don't know. What do you guys think, Kevin?
Yeah. Ed and Kelly, I don't like
I know you're not a fan of it, but to me, I get why people don't like the episode, because it's another Ed and Kelly episode, but it sets up a lot of things that I think are quite interesting to the series. So especially when we see what happens because of this episode next week.
I don't remember. I actually don't remember anything that happens after this.
You'll appreciate it more when you remember next week's episode.
Sure, but Ed is so desperate that he's going to date this new Kelly. Jesus Christ.
But that's Ed. Yeah. That's the thing that I always find interesting about this show. The guy who made the show, creates the show, produces the show, and writes a lot of the times, has made himself a loser in the show, which is kind of interesting. So, but Dave, what are your thoughts on this?
You know what? It's not a bad watch or anything, but it's a little, for me, it's, I know that they sometimes redo certain themes from Star Trek episodes or other science fiction episode. And this episode is strikingly similar to the Next Generation episode's Second Chances with the two Rikers. Now, it's a little bit of a different circumstance where you have a transporter duplicate there that was marooned on a planet for 7 years or 8 years or whatever it was. And so, but
she's not a duplicate. She's just earlier in the timeline.
Correct. Yeah. And so, but it's kind of the same thing, whereas this version is not, doesn't have all the baggage of the last few years as the other Kelly does. And therefore it doesn't get it or whatever. In that Next Generation episode, Will Riker it was like, Deanna, don't you think he would have made all the same decisions that I did, and all these things. So it's not really a fair comparison for you to go out with him. But we know that Will Riker is just kind of jealous no matter who Deanna's talking to. That's not him. Yeah. So even if it's him,
Deanna knew not to go out with him.
Yeah, I think that. So like that aside, the episode is fine, but it does feel a little bit contrived in the sense that, I don't know, we just get this Kelly here and like, oh, and not only is you can't send her back, but she's got to stay on the ship and she's got to date Ed. And that's weird. I kept trying to think about like what this would be like if it actually happened to one of us or to me or whatever. Like if hey Sam, if like, like I think I'm the only one here that's been divorced, and like try to get to redo one of your marriages or anything like that. I don't know. Like, I guess that's sort of it gets your mind going a little bit, but of what if, could you undo the mistakes of your past or do things differently or whatever, but
well, it's the old tripe of, would you do it the same again kind of thing, right? Like, and I think that what's interesting about this is, I think if anything, I think Kelly is the one that learns the most about this, because Kelly is like, yeah, I see naive 7-year back Kelly, and I'm like, wow, I'm a complete idiot, basically. Like, and she kind of understands what some of her choices were and why she did them now a little bit better, which is kind of, it grows the character, I think. But the whole Mercer dating the other Kelly, I think, is just silly. But what can you do? But anyway, Adam, we haven't heard you at all.
Listen, I'm with Kevin. I did not necessarily enjoy this episode. It was long to me.
There's some great scenes in it, though.
There's some good, sure,
which we'll talk about.
Scenes. There's always good laughs. That's fine. Yeah. But again, you coming back 3 episodes ago, when we were battling the Kalon, and this is. I don't like young Kelly. I find her annoying as hell. Why would they let her stay on the ship? Stupid. Mm-hmm. And then why would Mercer date her? Like, nothing makes sense. And then, at least in Next Gen, when they had the transporter accident, that's sort of plausible. I had no idea what they were talking about with that stupid pyramid thing, and how she got there, I don't know.
That's plausible, but this isn't. That's my favorite. No. It's all kind of made up.
Well, it is different, though, because we're dealing with 2 different timelines of the same person, whereas with the Riker thing, we had essentially a carbon copy to a degree of him, but he was branched off the timeline as well. So it was like kind of similar but different in a way as well. So it's kind of one of those things. But
and the other thing is, so would you say like Kelly's in her like mid-30s in the show, like somewhere in there?
Yeah, I would think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I would not want to, like, in my mid-30s going back to like 28-year-old Adam. Oh my God, I would not want to.
No.
Well, and I think that's the question it brings up, right? Like, is what, and Dave hit it really on the nail. It's like, how do you perceive like 7 years ago you making the decisions that you're making now, knowing the knowledge what you have now, but yet don't have the knowledge of the person, right? So it's like, and we saw a scene with Kelly is like, I've had 7 years of dealing with this. Like, I know what he's about to put you through, and I know all this. And we even got it from Gordon. Gordon's like, I don't want you to get back together with him because I was there to pick up the pieces as you were, as you were going through your divorce and all this stuff, right? So it's like, I think it's interesting. I think they could have did a lot less of the Mercer and Kelly part and more of, just the conflict between her and her younger self, I guess. But
that is the more interesting part of the episode for me, because if you met somebody from a younger version of yourself, would you like yourself?
Well, and that's the thing with Kelly. Kelly, you kind of see that future Kelly, or present time Kelly, I guess technically. She really isn't a fan of her younger self. Like, she knows that the younger self is an idiot. She's about to do a lot of stuff that she shouldn't do, and that's what's going to cause issues, right?
And then young Kelly gives her that horrible line, your disappointment.
Oh yeah, she just shits on her.
Well, she doesn't like who she's become to a degree, right? Or that she hasn't gotten or achieved the certain things in life. You know, she wanted to fall in love, be a captain, and be, you know, respected.
And
by
she
her
hasn't
friends.
achieved any of these things.
See, but again,
At least in her eyes.
It's the wrong priority. If you're going to be in the union, you want to be a captain. Captain's number one. Everything else is second.
Yeah, but that's the thing that young Kelly will eventually learn, right? Like,
well, young Kelly didn't mean any of that stuff in the first place. She was just being a petulant child.
exactly.
And trying to hurt older Kelly. That's it.
Well, and later on in the episode, we get her saying, you know, I'm sorry I was kind of a bitch. And she's like, yeah, I know, I've been there. Basically, it's like, I know, I did that too. You know, it's like,
is young Kelly hotter?
I don't know. I don't think so. Why?
No,
Okay.
not to me. No.
This is
She's
a whole
annoying.
other psychological thing that we would have to go with Dave, and I don't think we have the time for that.
I don't know if I love the bangs.
Well, I think the bangs
Also
were just
that.
a way so we know which one was
Which one's which?
Yeah, like I think they had to drastically change her hair so at least we'd know. Because if they just changed just the uniform, I think people.
Because I guess like the hair is the only way to make her look significantly younger. I guess, right? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like current Kelly has like the hair always slicked back, and she's always got her ears exposed. Where, you know, young Kelly, her ears aren't out there, and you know she's more boxed in. So it's kind of, I guess it's supposed to show the difference between the person who's got the, you know, the confidence versus the person who is kind of hiding, I guess, in a way.
Maybe,
at least that's the way I look at it. But again, I'm not a psych major when it comes to women by any means, but you know, we all have.
You're not an expert? Come on.
I thought you were.
There is no such thing as a woman expert. Okay, that's just doesn't exist. I'm sorry, but anyway, you ask your wife if there's a woman expert. Dave.
An expert on all women.
An expert on all women. She'll tell you even women aren't an expert on women. Same thing with men. We have a lot of stupid things that we do too. But you know, it's not stupid. Reviewing the episode. Let's do that. What do you say?
Okay.
All right. So anyway, we have obviously we start off with a nice exterior shot zooming into these guys basically you know, having drinks and whatnot and goofing around. And this is when Kelly's telling a very awkward story about I can't remember the actual story, but it was something that didn't make Mercer look too great.
Their first date, wasn't it? Like,
was it the first date?
Or their whatever.
Yeah, she's talking about how Ed called her the next day.
Oh
at
yes,
9 o'clock, and how he had no game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he couldn't drink. She was always ordering the drinks.
And Tella is definitely having a good time with this story. She's the goof. She enjoys it, which is kind of weird. She's a very complex character, I think, because we get one scene where she's like completely goofy, and then we have another scene where she's like ready to kill somebody, right? Like she's an interesting character. Again, I still think she's a better replacement to the other one, which I don't even remember her name, nor do we need to speak it again. Until
She'll be
later.
back in the next episode.
She will be back in the next episode, technically. Brush up. But anyway, so we see them and they're just chatting, doing their thing, you know, playing around, goofy little thing. And Mercer is clearly embarrassed by what's going on here. You know, and he's like, you know, don't.
Well, then he says, you were always the person at the party saying, no, one more. No, you're not done.
Yeah, she's the boozer, right?
So they're, you know, a pusher, you know.
Which is something that constantly comes up with Kelly is her ability to drink and stuff like that. Like it's mentioned a lot during the series. Like even in this episode, there's, you know, after the two are there, you know,
there's
she's
not
like,
enough wine on board for two Kellys.
Yeah, there's not the replicators can't create enough wine for two Kellys.
Both
like
Kellys.
it's just not gonna happen, right? So we'll see what happens.
It's been throughout the whole show. I think she drinks in almost every episode, and one that she doesn't, I think that's the one where she does the weed edible. So
that's true. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Anytime like there's a bit of stress, she's like, drink.
Yeah. I mean, they all do. There's a lot more drinking in this.
Yeah.
And then this goes into the conversation of where Mercer basically says, like, you know, us getting back together isn't off the table for me. And she's like, yeah, no, it is. kind of. She kind of shuts him down.
He's like, why can't a captain date his first officer? Wah!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, typical Mercer being a loser. But anyway, we then see Isaac and
Lamar.
That's it. Isaac and Lamar, they're working on this object, which apparently deals with quantum time, and it has the ability to displace objects and stuff like that. And it's like, that's basically the whole premise of the episode, is this thing goes a little haywire. It's a little bit more advanced than Isaac even thought it was, which turns out to cause some issues.
I love when they ask Lamar, like when they ask Lamar why it was only this Kelly, he's like, I don't know, quantum stuff is weird. Like, quantum stuff is scary or something like that. Yeah. It's just like,
who understands quantum mechanics, really? You know, I think even Mercer says that. He's like, you know, I took this in school and I don't even understand it, you know, basically. But we see Kelly, and Kelly is checking in on these guys, which proves to be the issue here, because when it decides to go a little haywire and the ship starts going completely nutty, because they ended up they hit something, didn't they?
They hit some kind of gravimetric, like something or other. Yeah,
like a gravity well or something like that. And when they did this, that basically triggered off the device. And Isaac is about to leave the device to go deal with other things, and he turns around and sees this one, which confuses him, but it confuses all of us because it doesn't explain anything at this point before we get the credits. And she's like, "Where am I?" Right? And he's just like, "What?" So then we get our title card, which of course is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Shouldn't it be like yesterday and yesterday and yesterday instead? Because this doesn't deal with going to the future. Well, I guess for her it does, but
depends on which character is perceiving the title.
Yeah, I guess we're looking at it from young Kelly's.
I think it should be tomorrow and yesterday, and just leave it there.
And next week.
Yeah.
And next week.
So anyway, Isaac basically, you know, is dealing with this other Kelly. And he's kind of figured out what's going on here, and he takes her to sickbay where Claire sees her.
They say intruder alert for a bit, and then
they thought they had an intruder, but it turns out it's just because it could have easily been, you know, a krill, right? like it could have been a krill that was
a lot of things. Yeah, so
it could have been a lot of things. So I guess it makes sense to have that kind of protocol. So they're all in sickbay and they're talking about the situation, and Claire's like, "Yeah, she's exactly Kelly. Like, you know, this is Kelly to a T." And then that's when the door opens and Kelly is there, and Kelly's like, what the hell? And Mercer, I'm glad at least Mercer didn't do the, "Oh, sweet, two Kellys." You know, he didn't do something like that. So that was good. But they're all pretty stunned by what's going on here. I did now the one thing I will give this credit for is the ability to put the two into a scene. They've done really well. Like, there's a couple times where they cross over and you don't notice the cut, which is really well done in my opinion. Like, from a film viewpoint, I think that was very,
come
very
a long
good
way with this stuff. Like, compared to like the way they used to do it, like when we would have Brent Spiner playing Data and Lore, or
I actually watched this particular scene a couple times because the thing that I thought would give everything away would be the reflections in the glass. And they even have the reflections right. So, like, when they cross over and stuff, you can see both of them cross over as the reflection as well, which I thought was just that, to go to that level of detail, bravo to the people that deal with the visual effects on the show.
They knew you'd be watching, Jody. So,
well, I look at that stuff because I've always been interested in it, but I was really impressed. Like, even in this screenshot, you can see, there's the other Kelly there. It's hard from this angle to see it, but you can actually see, like, down here, that's actually her. But it's really well done the way they did it, which I thought was fantastic.
Later on, I'll tell you some facts on the body double that she had playing her. So.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, but basically, she explains that you guys are both the same. You're the same person, just what the hell. Basically, because I think at this point they don't realize what happened. And then once Isaac and Lamar explain to them what they were doing, people are like, "Oh, okay, I guess so." Like, nobody understands really what's going on here.
The only thing I really took from this whole explanation was that, the fact that Kelly, I guess, was thinking about that time in her life right before this thing happens. fine. And if you think about like the Traveler in the Next Generation, who talks about space and time and thought all being interconnected, and sort of that's the kind of the crux of quantum mechanics.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's that other thing in quantum mechanics where if you're observing the light, it will behave differently than if you're not observing it, or if you turn the cameras off. I don't know if you've ever seen that phenomenon, but it's
I've heard
weird.
about it. Yeah.
So I don't pretend to understand this to any extent, but I was it was enough for me to go, okay, I guess.
I'm just a dumbass that watches sci-fi. Like I don't understand all this, but like I got a brief grasp on quantum mechanics, but it's still like this is way over my head. But it's I'm with you on that, Dave. Like I didn't get anything out of this. Like it was literally like they said it and I'm just like, I don't get it. But
no.
Tell
me the transporter incident, no problem at all. This one, forget it.
Oh, okay. So you were totally fine with the Riker one, though.
Yeah.
Like, that makes perfect sense. So there you go.
Not too complex.
Yeah, there you go. So basically, they're having a briefing. They, Isaac and Lamar explain, this is probably what happened because she was the closest one to it at the time when this happened. She's from a different time loop, basically, and blah blah blah. But she's not like an alternate person. She's just an earlier version of.
Well, they don't really know if she's the same Kelly or an alternate timeline, and there's a lot of and they don't even know if they can send her back at this point either.
Oh yeah, they have no idea. They're like, she's probably gonna have to live here. So I got the impression that she was gonna be on the ship until the next time they dock or something, and then they would probably get rid of her, kind of thing. But at that point, they basically, and they're like, well, can we send her back? And Lamar and Isaac are like, probably not. Maybe. I don't know. Like, possible. So anyway, we see the next scene is basically Mercer and Kelly, and they're talking. Of course, Kelly has a drink in her hand because that's a pretty common problem for her. But and they don't do that synthol crap either. Like they replicate actual alcohol. Like they don't do any of that crap. But anyway, and she's like, this is absolutely bizarre. Like, and she's kind of going off about how like this is really an odd thing.
The question is, what do we tell her? Do we tell her we were like, in that whole conversation's whether or not do we lock her in a room and just try to, until we figure out whether we
wait
can
it
send
out
her back?
kind of thing. Yeah,
because they're worried about changing the timeline, which guess what ends up being a problem.
A big problem.
A big problem.
A massive problem.
And so, but then this whole moral dilemma. Well, she hasn't done anything wrong, so locking her up doesn't seem correct.
There's nothing that she's done that's an issue. So Kelly tries to be very, brash with her and say, yes, I'm you, but I'm you 7 years later, and I know more than you. Basically, is kind of how she's portraying things, but it kind of comes off a little dirty, in my opinion. But and Mercer's just like, fuck, I got enough problems with one Kelly. Now I got two. They basically come to the conclusion, well, I guess you're gonna be here a while. So
when in doubt, tell the truth.
Yeah, get some quarters. Yeah, when in doubt, tell the truth. Basically. So we see the two of them. They're walking. She's taking her back to her thing, and I can't remember the conversation they have during the walk here, but I don't remember it being anything of that significance other than what's people like, basically.
Talon was basically saying to her, I'm new here too. If you need a friend.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. I remember that now. So yeah, it's like, this could be awkward, blah, blah, blah. If you need a friend, let me know, kind of thing. But even though she says that, it's like, she seems to be the one that has meshed with the crew the easiest out of all the characters. Like Tala is just like, she's totally just fit in. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah, she's at every table in the when we do the opening scene of them in the mess hall. She's always there.
Yeah, she's always there.
People.
Yeah, she's in every friend group and everything, so which is good for her. But anyway, we now see these guys are kind of pondering what's going on. I can't remember what Gordon says. He has like an idea, or at least I can't remember exactly what he says, quite honestly. If any of you guys can, please feel free. I took the screenshot for a reason because I know he said something, but I can't remember what it was. Anybody?
What happens next? That might inform. Is this the scene where they get chased by the krill? Or, no, right?
No, not yet.
Is
no.
this? Oh, is this when not the Krill, the Kalon, ship
Kalon.
show
It's
up?
Kalon,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they show up. Oh yeah, they do show up. They show up and then they get away from them the first time, and then later on they catch up to them again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the one time where there's a krill ship or the Kalon ship. Did they see us? No. Let's boogie out of here.
Yeah.
And I think this is also them figuring out that they don't have the ability to send her back.
Yeah, they've kind of come to the conclusion. Sorry, guys, I'm just turning off an alarm here. Yeah, they've kind of come to the conclusion that they can't. They don't have the option to do it just yet. So they're trying to still kind of figure out what's going on here. Then I think this is when
they're talking about the fact they can't send her back.
Yeah,
and now what?
Yeah, he's like, well, what do we kind of do now, kind of thing. And we're gonna work on it. And she's clearly distraught about this because she's like, I don't want to be here. I got my life to leave. Blah blah blah. But I'm already getting the impression she doesn't like her future self. You know what I mean? Like she's already starting to get kind of like crass with her, I guess, in a way. That's how I felt about it anyway. Is it just kind of feels like
future self is the boss. And younger self is a child.
Exactly. Yeah. And really that is kind of how it is in this, like it's, she's clearly, having a hard time with this. She's like, I'm in the future. I don't know any of these people in their current forms. This is kind of brutal. I don't remember her ever being in here. So
she says that they're going to get her into a uniform.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You might as well get a uniform. Well, she does have a rank. Like she's part of the union at this point too. So she does technically.
She
have
says
a
you need
rank
to start thinking of yourself as separate people now, and is kind of
Yeah.
also the big part of this speech is that they.
Which
they
is
have
yet
different
another
lives.
thing I love about this character is they've kind of given this character a wise old person persona in a way. Like she's
You talk
a
about
lot of
Tala?
people. Yeah, a lot of people go to Tala for this stuff, right? Like it's interesting how well she's merged in. You know what I mean? But even people that have no idea who she is are still like talking with her and stuff, which is kind of cool. So anyway, they're now drinking because that's what we do on this ship. We drink.
What? Oh, uniform discussion.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I figured we'd get to that.
Well, this is one of the Kelly is wearing the young Kelly is wearing a green uniform, but more specifically, her badge is science specific. Whereas you compare it to Claire's badge, which is the medical science badge. We haven't really seen now. Presumably, Isaac would wear this uniform if he wore one at all.
Yeah.
Right? He would wear the green with that particular emblem, but he doesn't wear anything.
I didn't notice that they had two different emblems.
Yeah, it's like it's so the like Claire's version just has like the medical symbol inside of like that science,
like the snakes and
no, it's like the atom or whatever it's meant to be, So
oh, okay,
right.
Oh, and it's got the little thing in the middle. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's and they're talking the shit here as well, and she's telling stories of young Mercer at this point.
No, but it's young Kelly. She's telling
young
stories
Kelly.
about herself and embarrassing
is she?
stories.
Oh, that's right, embarrassing
Commander
stories.
Grayson would not want told to these officers.
Oh yes, that's right, because she comes in later and pulls her aside and basically says that because it was embarrassing, and both of them experienced this one. But I guess it's more fresh for young Kelly because it only happened a little while ago, where it's been 7 years for the other one. So, but yeah, she pulls her aside. She basically, I guess she overhears this conversation. She's like, I have to maintain a certain rapport on this ship. Like, I can't be looked at as being the goof. I'm in command here, but. She pulls her aside first before she does that. This is when she starts off and basically says, you can't be telling them, our goofy little secrets, blah, 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 because, this kind of makes me look bad. I earned my way here. And I think this is kind of where we get the impression that she really doesn't like herself at this point. Like,
well, how long was the older Kelly sitting over there waiting to get involved, like just getting mad that young Kelly is like stealing her friends or whatever?
which is kind of like and this is where I don't like this episode. Like it gets to the point where it's like it's just like the feuding of the two Kellys sometimes, and then half the time it's Mercer trying to get laid, and it's goofy.
I think the conflict between the Kellys is the more interesting part. It's the
it is absolutely. But the fact that like, and this kind of gets back to what Kevin said, is like, you know, you have one who's acting like a petulant child, but now both of them are because.
Yeah, I think they're trying to balance it out, that they're not trying to just portray one as being better than the other.
Right, because in that last scene, like, I think old Kelly is out of line.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah, she needs to, because you have to remember it's, and Kelly does say that. She goes, you know, I understand it's as much as your memory as it is mine. But
F off.
If she understood that, then she wouldn't be having that conversation at all.
Correct.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. But we end up seeing this is now Gordon and Mercer, and they're playing some sort of interactive hologram game. And Mercer clearly is not good at it.
This is the best scene in the whole show.
No, it's not. I'll tell you what the best scene is later. This is definitely not it, but I agree.
This is funny for like if you've ever played with like a video
if you've
game.
ever played an actual like, you know, 3D based video game, this definitely. Especially when, and I love how he's like, I can't do this. Like, there's too many buttons. It's like
he's like, you got to do it with this, and you know, I feel like this was based on real life, probably, because
yeah. But I like the fact that like Mercer's character is like he just keeps bouncing into the stairs.
Oh, the way that these actors play this out is hilarious. Like where he just turns around. Like
he just turns around, and then we see.
Yeah, you know, that scene was just like me playing anything with my kids.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, we'll keep comments of that, but
just go ahead. It's okay.
No, it's fine. But anyway, we then see young Kelly come on in, and we then see obviously we see Gordon take out Mercer's character there, and Mercer's just like, I've had enough of this now. As a person who plays a lot of video games, and I know Dave does as well at times, and so does Kevin even. I don't know about you, Adam, quite honestly. I don't know if you play a lot of video games, but...
No, he's like Mercer.
He's like Mercer. Okay. All right. But these controllers being completely lit up are absolutely atrocious. Like, these would be the worst things in the world to play on.
Is this what you took from that? Like
that's exactly what I took from this. This is terrible. This is like, they're like lit up switches with grips. And it's like, why would you want something lit up like that while you're trying to control it? Just seems like it would be distracting. I don't know. But anyway. But yeah, no, there's also...
This is more, I think you're more of the video game guy than me, Jody, because I didn't even think about that.
Oh, this would drive me absolutely mental.
Why?
But
Why?
It would be too distracting because you would see the light constantly in your field of view.
All right, that's good. Good answer.
That's the way I would say it. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you supporting my answer. But anyway, I can't remember what this conversation is, but I think it was along the lines.
This is where she comes and asks him out.
I really liked our first date. I want a second.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Because she only had the first date literally like a day before she got zapped over here.
Right.
So at this, well, actually, it would have been the morning just before he called, right? Because we see the call happen at the end of the.
It was the night before, right? Was the date before? So she and she got zapped right before the call happened.
Yeah, so it was in between the date and then when Mercer called her the next day, which was apparently at 9 a.m. Right. So, like, who does that? Like, my God,
someone with no game
at all, and we get told that. But I love the expressions of Gordon on the couch while they're having this discussion.
Well, I think they kick him out before she asks him.
Yeah.
Well, she says a couple things and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then they're like, "Yeah, okay, Gordon, see you later." And he's like, "Okay, I'll leave." Basically, so he leaves. And then she's like, "Yeah, no, I really enjoyed our first date. Maybe we should go for another one." And at this point, Mercer had every opportunity to be like, "Yeah, no, this would be weird. Let's not do this." But instead, he didn't. Because
he doesn't say yes right away.
He doesn't say yes, but
he does the right thing and goes to talk to Kelly, but he should have stopped at that anyway.
But at that point, he should have went, no, that's a bad idea at this point, especially after I talked to Kelly and she says the same thing, basically. But
what I like about what Kelly says to him is she's like, hey, you've changed too. Like, you're a different person too.
Yeah, we're both 7 years
Right.
older. We both have that 7 years of experience. You're going to be dating the non-7-year experienced version of me, and that would probably be bad, right? Like she's definitely not for it, but she obviously puts on the whole, well, we'll support you kind of thing.
So are we all like? Do you three all feel that if you were presented with this option that Ed's presented with, that you would turn it down?
Well, and the funny thing is, this is the scene that made me think, right? Like I'm thinking back to previous relationships and stuff, and I'm like, if I had the opportunity to do it again and maybe change what I did, would I do that? But on the other hand is, well, then if I didn't, then I wouldn't be where I am today. Like to give an example, if I had never met Candace, I wouldn't have eventually, met you guys. Kevin, I met because of Candace. So because our kids were at the same bus stop. That's how I met him, which is a whole other story for another day. But anyway,
the circumstances here are pretty unique because Ed actively wants to get back with Kelly and she won't, and then all of a sudden this young Kelly that doesn't have the baggage comes along and says, "Oh, I'll date you," and he's like, "Oh, great." He's
like, "Great, I can do this all over again, and maybe I'll do
it
better."
Kelly should be a lot more angry at him.
He even says that.
She should be.
Once I say this, you might get upset.
And I think she is, but she doesn't. She wants to be supportive, right? Which is kind of odd when you think about it.
He went down the wrong path. It's like, you remember when I was supportive of you and Cassius?
Yeah.
No, you were.
He was. Yeah, you weren't at all. You were constantly.
Oh, no, I love. She says eventually.
Yeah, eventually, after you were like stalking us.
But it's not comparable at all. It isn't.
No, it's not.
But the only thing good about this, Dave, is that, Mercer wouldn't be dating somebody who doesn't know how to dress correctly. Like, obviously, Cassius.
Correct. Well, at least, Kelly's got young Kelly and older Kelly both have that going for them. It's creepy at the very least anyway. You know, I think it's... But I kind of it's hard to fault him 100% on it because it's kind of like he kind of has this like dream scenario fall in his lap here.
Well, he's in love with Kelly. He's always been in love with Kelly. And I guess this is a way for him to say, well, I can do it again and maybe not do the things that I did to jeopardize our relationship.
But that's the problem right there, because you'd always be trying to correct things.
Yeah. So, and in turn, you could actually make things way worse.
Because young Kelly would say, okay, I want to do that. We're going to go to the movies. And you know how it's going to go. And
yeah, you remember watching the movie and you had a fight after that. So you say, no, I'm not going to go to the movies. And then she's like,
well, you're not going to do the same things, but but the same situations can get you like, I don't think I want to do that.
Like if you compare the position Ed's in this episode to what Deanna Troi dealt with in Second Chances, right? Because this is the boyfriend. This is the version of Will Riker to her that they never broke up.
Yeah.
Right. And so therefore, but they would have anyway. That's kind of what Will Riker's point is, that he's like, he would have broke up with you too, and he would have went. So
that's because he really is. But then even in that episode, we learned that because they both had different experiences after that the issue, like the transporter malfunction, accident, whatever you want to call it, they do have different lives and they're very different.
So the question really is that like if I had met Callie when I was like 7 years after we did, like that would have put me at like 30 when she was 23 or 22 or whenever it was, would I have been attracted to her at that point in my life versus
that's what I was thinking is like my previous women that I've been with, it's like, do I want to do that again? And I came to the conclusion that no, things happen for a reason, and this is the path we've chosen. And then I started thinking, well, what about all the stuff that I wouldn't have now? Like, because there's a lot of series of events that have happened since a breakup with that particular person or whatever that have shaped different things in my life, which obviously, affect things as well. Like, all three of you wouldn't be in my life if I stayed with that person, for instance, because then I wouldn't have experienced the things that led me to meeting Kevin, meeting Dave, and meeting Adam. So then I kind of think, oh, well, this is the best for me. Right. So it's, if anything, this episode makes you think, maybe not in a good way, but it does make you think, and, you have to kind of accept what you have and move on from it and learn from it. And I think that's where future Kelly has the upper hand here, but she's just as much of a jackass as young Kelly in some scenarios. So.
Which at the end of the day, they are the same person, but they're not. And I don't know. It's like,
it's
if
weird.
I think back to my ex-wife, and I'm like it still wouldn't work even if you didn't have all these bad things happen.
Absolutely,
they're still the same people. You're still incompatible, or you are compatible, and that's the whole thing with their relationship. Is like, well, it was Rob Lowe's fault, but now we're captain first officer, so it can never work. So. But it really would be meant to be, they could just serve on different ships,
Absolutely.
If they wanted to be,
and they would have been fine, but then they wouldn't have the experiences that they had. So it's the whole what if, I guess, scenario is really what it comes down to. And even though we sometimes look at the, grass is greener on the other side kind of thing, in reality, it isn't. And I think that's something that you have to kind of get out of this type of scenario, right? Like, looking at, what Adam said, would I be attracted to, my wife, if there was a 7-year difference there, because at that point, Adam would be different. So would his wife. And, so there would be a change there. Right. So it's definitely a mental exercise, if anything. But...
Yeah. As I'm thinking, because I didn't give too much thought during the episode, but as I'm thinking about this now, it's like, I don't think I could listen, I've been with her for 30 odd years, but to watch that 7-year gap again, and it's all, you're always in a different place.
Yeah.
It'd be like a rerun sort of, but kind of.
Yeah, for sure. But, and if anything, that's something interesting in the episode. And it's the same thing with the episode from Next Gen as well. You have to kind of wonder, what would have happened if that particular event changed things or, whatever. Right. So Mercer kind of slinks in and he's like, so
he looks like he's skulking in.
He literally is slinking in. Like, if you look at, I tried to capture it as best I could, but literally he's like this as he's walking in. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not, because Seth MacFarlane definitely has a weird walking style. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but so I can't totally say that was on purpose, but it definitely works for the scene because he really is slinking and asking permission to basically date a younger version of her. Like, that's literally what he's saying, right? He's like, yeah, no, I want to give it another try. And then he talks about her recent thing with what's his name there,
Cassius, and he just wants to date somebody who's not a krill or something.
Yeah, and I just want to date somebody who's not a krill. Like, the dude is so, like, they have holodecks. We know you can have sex dens because what's his name has one.
Bortus,
like,
come on,
like, dude, just go use the holodeck.
Go see that weird guy down in the who makes the porn stuff, and he'll make you something.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, but basically, Kelly. I think she should have been way more mad in this scenario. Like, she really is fairly forgiving of this. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like, you should be being completely honest with him. Like, you're an idiot for doing this. Like, this is such a stupid idea. I don't know why you're even trying it. But he tries to explain himself, and she's like, yeah, no, it's not the same thing. Like,
I think it calls into question his judgment as a captain, like just his judgment in general. This is such an egregious choice to make.
Exactly. And on top of that, it's like, and that's what I said earlier. I'm like, it's weird that Seth MacFarlane is writing his own character to be an absolute loser. Like, he's an idiot. And there are times when he's pretty cool, but there's also a lot of times when you're like very questionable on what he's doing. Like, it's like, why are you doing this?
Well, whenever it comes to his love life is when it gets questioned.
His love life is absolutely
that's like the worst part of his character. I agree.
Yeah, but I also like the fact that they have that, because it's nice to have, even though I could use less of it, but because we get a lot of episodes with the whole Kelly versus Mercer thing. But anyway,
it really does kind of make Kelly the captain of the show. Like,
well, and that's another thing that you brought up that I thought was quite interesting, because if you see the promo advertisements for a lot of like the stills and stuff, I don't know if you've noticed, but Kelly's character is always bigger than Mercer's. Now I know that there is a height difference to begin with the two of them. Like he's short, he's short compared to her. She's actually a pretty tall lady, but if you look at like a lot of the promos, like her character is always more bold, and like season 3 is easiest way to see that, because the season 3 promo material, almost all of it is her like being like in the foreground and he's in behind her shoulder and smaller and stuff like that. So it's almost like they do it on purpose. Like
Kelly is probably the more popular character.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, even though it is McFarlane's baby, but you know,
yeah.
I think he also knows that he can write a character that's absolutely irritating, and that's kind of what he's done in the past as well. Like, so like, you know, Peter Griffin, for instance, is a very irritating character in ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you know,
deliberately so, right? So.
But yeah, very deliberately. So anyway, they go on their little second kind of date thing here. They're just, you know, hanging out, having some dinner. They do have a conversation where she's like, you know, what do you think of me, kind of thing, or something along that line. And he's like, yeah, no, you're who I thought you were, blah, blah, blah. But I don't remember the other part of this conversation. So if anybody else has that, let me know. Anyone? I don't remember it because I didn't care at this point. Let's put it that way.
You know, she does the whole thing here, you know, orders him more drinks. You know, it was so predictable. I was not having a good time during this episode at this point.
No, there are some parts that are fantastic, but this is not one of them. But basically, the two of them just kind of converse over, you know, things that they know. But the main issue here is Mercer keeps kind of bringing up the fact that he already knows that outcome, you know, and he makes it very clear to her a couple times, like, yeah, you know, I've already done this, but I know you haven't. So, you know, yeah, we could do that or whatever.
Yeah, that there's kind of this natural issue here in their thing, and then she wants more drinks here, and he doesn't, and you know.
So, Adam, I'm almost positive I know who this character is, but I'm sure in Fun Facts you'll let us know who actually plays this character.
Oh, I know who this is.
Who do you think it is?
It's Will Sasso.
Mm-hmm.
It's Will Sasso. Okay.
I saw him in the credits when I was starting the episode.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I knew he was going to be in the episode, and then I was like, oh, it's got to be him.
He's been in before.
What's that?
Okay, not as this character, was he?
Not as this guy. But he's been in the show before. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has been in the show before, yeah, for sure. But I don't remember him being.
Is this like a different restaurant on the ship, or is this in the simulator?
This is in the simulator. I'm almost positive, because if anything, I think this is the same one that Isaac and Claire went to.
Maybe, yeah. It seems.
I'm almost positive that, because the Mushkas thing, I remember being mentioned.
Lighting's different.
The lighting's different,
and there's exterior shots to space, right? When you look at the other angle.
Let's go back here.
Yeah. They're in, like, I feel like this is just like a different lounge on the ship that we've never seen.
Oh, so maybe there is like another restaurant or something like that.
Right, Muskas.
Yeah,
maybe
I don't know,
this is
because
Muskas.
we don't see a lot of the people in the background, which is usually a good indication on whether it's a simulation or not, because you see like everybody's in certain attire, you know, stuff like that. But anyway, the two of them get hammered, which is not unpredictable at all. And I'm not totally sure what he's pointing at here, but she's like, yeah, I had a really great time. This is the absolute worst screen cap I could possibly get on this one. Like, I have no idea why this is like this, but
move on.
Also, how strong are the drinks in the future where they're like this after only 4 drinks?
Well, we don't know how much the time has really gone by, but yeah, like we only saw them drink
4 drinks. If they didn't,
did they only say 4? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they must be really strong. These are definitely not American beers. That's for sure.
Ed's not as much of a drinker as her. But.
Yeah. So anyway, this is where I started cringing a bit, which is when the two of them decide they're going to kiss, and you know, at this point, I thought she was going to invite him in, but she doesn't, which is good. Because that would be even creepier.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah,
and tomorrow.
But I do like this scene where he's all giddy and he's like walking down the thing, and then he runs into somebody and he's like, "Ensign," and he gets all serious for a second. So I thought that was good. So then we see Kelly back in the quarters again, and she's now at this point she's kind of giddy and happy, and this is when the buzzkill that is 7-year-old later Kelly shows up and kills the buzz here. But
says, "I don't want you to get hurt," and whatever she's saying.
Yeah,
she's
I
saying
think this is where she insults her, right? She's like,
well, they kind of insult each other. So
Yeah.
this conversation does not go well for.
Yeah,
either
basically,
side.
she's like, you're nothing like I wanted to be in 7 years from now. So like, you are literally a failure. That's basically how she puts it up. And Kelly's like, yeah, but I also have the 7 years of experience, and the reason why I'm where I am is because I've learned that this is where what I need to do. And she's kind of right. Like as first officer of the ship, you have a certain level you need to stay at, right? Like, obviously you have your downtime and that's different, but I kind of get the point she's making, but I'm not totally sure it makes perfect sense in this scenario, but I get it. Like, as you're chain up the command, like you have to show more respect to the position in the rank, right? Like and that's kind of something that happens in militaries all around the world. Like you don't see, commanders running around and being goofy
or
all the
corporate
time.
structures. Like
it can be applied to anything really. There's a certain level you need to be at when you're at that level, right? So, and I think, but young Kelly being, as Kevin would say, the petulant child, is she's not getting this at all. Like she doesn't get it.
I do want to say though, I think that Adrian Palicki's performance as these two versions is really good. I think
she does a good job, because she really defines the differences between them. Which
not just the hair; it's like the way she plays them. But it's not so different that it's not the same person, right? It's just it's. I don't want to say the word subtle because I think it's a little bit more than that, but it's definitely. Yeah, you're completely spot on there, Dave. Nuanced, would you say?
Yeah, let's go with that. But yeah, no, like there's different intricacies with both of the characters, and she does emphasize them, which is nice. Like she does, as Kevin's mentioned a couple times, like the younger Kelly does act more immature. She does act a little bit more immature on what she says, even.
She even kind of it's almost the inflection in her voice is different, but not enough to be like somebody different. Like, or I feel like she's playing something else. Exactly. Like, so it's well done. Like she deserves credit for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even like when you see the difference, like this is a perfect example. This picture is like, older one, every time the younger one says something that she doesn't agree with, she kind of gives this like dumb smirk, like, you're an idiot, like, which if we all talk to our 7-year past selves, would we talk to them that way?
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
I think we probably would. Yeah.
I think
I don't want to admit that, but I think I would. I'd be like,
I think
you're a fucking idiot.
I think for most of us, if we met like depending on how much younger that version of you was, you would probably like, you're stupid and you don't know why, but you will.
Yeah, you will know why shortly.
The younger version,
right
you
now
would say,
you don't.
"Screw you, old man. You don't know."
Yeah. What do you know? You're not me. You're different. And I think I like the fact that older Kelly acknowledges the fact that she was that, and younger Kelly does not want to accept that older Kelly is going to be her. Like she doesn't accept it. She's like, no, that's not.
And that's what the
do.
end of the episode is, where she's like, no, I'm going to take a different path. I'm going to go a different way.
I'm going to take a different path, and that leads to.
I wouldn't bother judging him. I would just pass him the almanac.
There you go.
Leave.
Yeah, the sports almanac would be the thing that you need to know. Yeah. Make sure you bet on games and don't let Biff have it. But yeah, no, it's. Hey, I do. You're absolutely correct, Dave. Is the fact that she portrays the two characters slightly different, which is really good. It's not just a carbon copy with different dialogue. It's even
compared
the
to like
what
we got with Frakes and the two Rikers, or
yeah, they were literally the same. Like there was no real difference to them other than a couple things that I think different Riker would say than that one would, but anyway, and I love when she walks in here because here's the pestilent child in the older version of Kelly coming out. She walks in and she's stamping her feet and she sits down and she's pissed off, right? And she's showing it really clearly. And Mercer's just like, yeah, I probably caused that, but I'm not going to say anything because that would be a problem. But like, and she's just like, she's gritting her teeth and everything.
Did you get the shot of her eyes when she's looking at him?
I don't think I did. No, yeah. I probably should have though. But anyway, so they're cruising around. Turns out the Kaylon have found them again, and they're on a pursuit course. So at this point, they're like, oh no, not yet. This is just before that, because they eventually go to bed, and then most of them get woken up and told to go back to the thing. Like there's no night shift on this ship.
Gordon says, I don't want to have to pick up the pieces here. But would Gordon say this if he was getting back together with the older Kelly as well, or just this younger Kelly?
That's a good question. I think he would, because he was there the whole time. We get the impression that he was the guy that, Mercer cried on. Like he was the guy's shoulder. And I think he probably would, because even if, like, he's even mentioned, like, it's not a good idea, even if the two current timeline, people get back together, he was there. He saw what happened, right?
The first time we even hear about Kelly, I think Gordon refers to her as a massive B, right?
Yeah, that massive bitch. Yeah.
I think that, their relationship is at least a little strained between Kelly and
and that's another thing that we've seen during the series, right? We've seen Gordon turn from this guy who absolutely hates Kelly because she saw what pain her friend went through, but now he's got like a total respect for her now, because he's like,
professionally, but on a personal level, he doesn't think, as somebody who's best friends with Ed, he's just like, no, I don't. I just feel like he holds this opinion that these two should not be together.
Yeah, and well, he's made that clear before, right? So it's very, very much, and he's like, dude, I've been there. I saw you when you were crappy, and this was a terrible thing. And
it's going to be different this time.
Yeah, and Mercer's got high hopes. He's like, no, it's going to be different this time. I'm not going to make the same mistakes, but we know that the mistakes will just be different. They won't be. They might not be the same mistakes, but they'll still be mistakes.
It's crazy that not a single fucking person just looked at him and went, "This is fucking crazy." Like,
well, and that's kind of where Gordon's going, but he's trying to like tread lightly, I guess. But
like, let's say it did work out, okay, and like. Hello, I'm Captain Mercer. He's at like the Admiral's ball or whatever. This is my wife, Kelly. She's she's a temporal duplicate of my ex-wife, Kelly, who then I met and married, just to try to explain that at a party.
Just trying to get all of her ID would be a pain in the ass. It's like, what do you do? But anyway. But he's smitten with her because this is the Kelly he remembers that he messed up.
It's just, yeah,
it's bad.
Is it the age difference or no? It's just
all bad. It's because the age difference is only 7 years or however old they are. Plus,
because I think he's older than her anyway to begin with. Right?
He's already older than her, yeah, because he did mention that in previous episodes. I think he's like 4 years older than her or something like that.
No, it's not a lot. This is another, like, it is his ex-wife.
It's his ex-wife
before they met,
but she wants to do it. Like, it's not like he.
Well, yeah, but that's because she doesn't know the 7 years that
she does know. Well, she knows on paper what happened.
She knows on paper what happened, but
he's gonna do this in front of his ex-wife, like in front of her as well.
That's the really messed up part.
It's so tacky.
It's like dating your ex-wife's sister or something, and getting
right. Yeah, it's worse than that, but it's along those lines. It's like, like if Jane and I broke up and then Jeff wanted to date Jane or something, like it would be kind of like that, It'd be like, what the fuck,
But you and Jane were also still commanding a starship together.
Right, and we're also we all work on the same space station or whatever.
Yeah, like there's so many awkward things to begin with here.
Not only is Jeff now dating Jane, you are all going to live together as well.
Right. On this, in this little moving pill ship. Yeah.
But anyway, they decide that they're going to go into the simulation that I think, who was it? I think Tella
No,
it's
this is
Kelly.
Kelly.
Kelly wants to
Kelly.
go.
Oh no, Kelly wants to go to this old spot they used to go to.
Okay,
Right.
this is where it does get good for one scene in this scene.
Yes.
I think the scene's pretty funny.
The scene's
it's-
great.
But all right, what? And you're okay. Go ahead. Just get there.
But basically, we see Kelly and Tala. They're dancing, having a good time. We see these two assholes just sitting here on the couch because that's how they do things. And I can't remember the conversation here. What was it?
Well, they're talking about like, are you gonna get up there and dance, or like I think it's
Isn't she great? Isn't she great?
Isn't she great? Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like, the
isn't
main
she
point of
great?
this scene to me is like that he's too old for this anyway. Maybe he always was. Maybe this.
Oh yeah,
was-
they're complaining about the music.
Yeah. It's too
Oh yeah,
loud
it's too
and-
loud, and which if I'm in a club nowadays, I would probably do the exact.
I think
same
this
thing.
is meant to present this other barrier that why these two shouldn't date, even if there's not this weirdness of dating, your ex-wife.
Well, not only was there an age difference to begin with, there's now another 7 years on top of that. So it's
Right.
he's
But
even
I don't
more
know,
out of date.
if 7 years younger, Ed was more into this than this version would be. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's hard to say, but
Yeah. So anyway, they come up and they're trying to persuade Gordon and Mercer to dance, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to dance." Basically.
Sciatica, he says.
Oh yeah, he's got my sciatica, which is a
No, he said that
perfect.
later when he's in bed with her.
maybe.
Mm,
Yeah.
I don't-
But as
no,
a
I
man
think it was
who
here.
suffers from sciatica, it's no joke.
Yes. But it's also something that young people usually don't have. As you get older, that's something you develop more, right?
Yeah.
So, or at least
And then,
the
rest
chances
of
are
the-
higher of getting it. Yeah. So, but oops, I lost my spot here. Oops, where are we now? There we are. But he says something like, I can't remember what he says, and everybody thinks he's saying like, "Where's the bathroom?" or something like that. I didn't actually think these jokes were that funny.
Well, if, like the bathroom's that way, like, that's but clearly it's like they can't make it as loud in the episode as we get here because we wouldn't be able to hear it, so they have to make. So I don't know, like I think these nightclub scenes in TV shows in general never quite do it justice. Or movies for that matter.
But I think it's also supposed to show that he's older and everything is just not cool in this scenario. Like
you can, yeah, you're not that younger version of you anymore either.
Yeah.
But
we do get a scene where Yafid's bugging out here, and he's crap's coming back and forth out of his body and stuff, which I thought was pretty funny. It was neat to see anyway. And then they're scanning the room, and they see Clyden and Bortus, and the two of them are dancing. And apparently this song reminds them of a mating ritual song. And the two are just, and then they're like, "You must come and dance with us." Like, and at that point I got kind of they want to have like a 4-way thing going on here. And it's like, that was kind of creepy too. But I love the dancing. Like the dancing's so absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's they're doing like some sort of weird, like robot / kung fu
right.
fighting.
I thought it was pretty funny.
It was funny enough. Anything with Bortus and Clyden when they're not arguing is usually pretty funny to watch. Just because they're always the fish out of the water, but yet they're not. It's kind of weird. But anyway, they just look at them like crazy, and the two of them are like, "You should come out here and dance with us." And they're like, "No, that's fine." Blah blah blah. And he goes, "The bathroom, it's that way." And then they just walk back off and continue to dance. And the two of them are just like, "Yeah, whatever." But he's like, "This reminds me of the dating dance on, the mating dance of, so-and-so on Moklis." So obviously that's more of a sexual thing for these two. And then they basically go back out and continue to dance. But I think the whole point of this scene, even though I think it was a little long, was to show how actually out of date Mercer is, like compared to the counterpart that he wants, right? Like, young Kelly, because young Kelly is all for this crap, but he's not. So it's another reason as to why. And then, he waves to her and she waves, she waves to him and he waves back, kind of thing. And he's like, "Yeah, hi." And he's like, "Oh God, kill me," basically. Now, this is the dynamic that I kind of like that they started setting up, which is essentially Claire being like Mama Bear I don't know if you guys are into that. I thought it was kind of nice. It also gives Claire something to do in the episode, which is good too.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird.
Sorry,
drink there with
got
the
a bit of a
multiple
harsh
layers.
throat going on here. But yeah, no, and it's, you know, she's like, you even get the impression that Claire's like, this is a bad idea. You know, like she's not really for it either. Pardon me, sorry guys. But actually, I'll let you take over for a minute here, Dave, while I get rid of my cough, if you don't mind.
She has a great conversation with Claire about how, you know, like, and we'll move on to the next scene.
All right, thanks, Dave. You're always a good filler.
I can't control the screenshots, so I don't know.
I know.
What else do you want me to do? But
basically, yeah, Kelly's kind of like, yeah, you know, we all make stupid decisions in life, and Claire's just like, yep, that's part of life, and that's how things go. But she's very mama bear in this episode.
No, this is where Claire is like, or not Claire. Kelly is like, I did wish I was married, and I was a captain by now, and
she's now second guessing.
And Claire is like, well, my life didn't turn out how I thought either. I was in love with a robot.
Yeah, I dated an artificial life form, and look at me. You know, it's like, that didn't work out. But I like how Claire is very grounded, down to earth. She's like, yeah, you know, I'm an older lady, and you know, I tried to date an artificial life form, and that didn't work.
right. And they haven't written this whole other backstory for Claire that will get set up in season 3, that she was married to this admiral guy before.
Yes, she was married previously.
Had the kids and whatever. So
yeah, which we see later on, but we're not there yet. But basically, Kelly's kind of second guessing her choices as well, based on what young Kelly said to her. And I guess she needed that kind of thought. Wow, my throat is just killing me right now. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, sorry guys. But basically, she shows up in this kind of lingerie thing, kind of thing, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I've seen that before. You and which kind of kills the whole idea of her showing up in it. So it's like, you know, this guy can't even talk his way into something good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just Mercer's a loser in this episode. I thought you might not like his shirt. Yeah, his shirt is definitely not fun. But anyway, she's clearly feisty and ready to go here. And you know, for a second or two, he's really going for it. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, I like the idea of cuddling and whatnot in bed. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Sorry,
but then
this is the dance conference. Sorry, couldn't dance with sciatica. This is where that happened.
Oh, okay, that's when he says it. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't dance. That sciatica was acting up. Blah blah blah. But then he kind of gets a chill. He's like, "Whoa, hold on. This doesn't feel right." But I think he's right to feel this way. I think it's like, this is creepy. Like, you're literally doing the same thing.
I've felt this way the entire episode just watching him do this.
Kevin strongly objects to this relationship, everybody.
This is a bad relationship. Kevin is not going to stand for this. But, what can you do? But anyway, so he kind of brushes her off at this point. And this, unfortunately, takes its toll on the episode, because at the end of the episode, we now know what happens because of this. So she feels rejected. I don't get the idea of why she had to look at the glass. Like, what does that signify? Does anybody?
Ice, because they want to hide in the ice.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
But she doesn't even...
because the reason why he left was because the Kalon have found them, and they're on
chasing them.
Yeah. So anyway, everybody shows up in their PJs, basically. And then she whispers down to her, "Ice," right? And she's like, "What? What are you doing?" And the two of them are just like, "Why are you even here?" Basically. And on top of that, why are you saying ice? But they get the idea of, going to a place where there's rings that I guess are full of ice asteroids, I guess. And they could hide in there, which I thought was pretty neat. I think we've seen that before somewhere, but
oh yeah, they've done this in Deep Space Nine.
Was it in Deep Space Nine? Yeah,
Odo and Weyoun were hiding from the Jemadar and a bunch of in a runabout and a bunch of ice. This is again, not an original concept.
It's not an original concept. I did like how they showed it though. I thought that was kind of cool.
It looked good.
Yeah, so you see them going through this kind of ice asteroid patch thing going on here.
The
They
only thing that was
eventually kind of
covering the ship with ice and all that.
Yeah.
That was kind of like that didn't happen in the Deep Space Nine episode. That was kind of newer idea.
But basically, they, I guess, have the ability to spray water all over the ship. I'm not totally sure how that would be useful, but
well, they can
they
jettison
Wash
the
it
water.
sometimes.
Yeah.
well, I guess that's how they wash it. I guess maybe, but either way, they can jettison this water, which instantly turns into ice because they're in this cold climate, which basically shells up the ship into like a cocoon of ice. I would have liked to see how they got out of it. Like, I know they would probably just fly away and it would break apart, but I would like to have seen that scene, which they didn't do. I guess cost-wise, it probably would have cost a fortune to
Because
do.
they cut main power, but it doesn't seem like the ship becomes like an ice box or anything for while they have to wait this out afterwards.
Yeah,
right?
like
So-
they cut the main power because right now you can see all the lights and stuff still. But I guess when they cut the main power, I did like how they shot the scene though. It was very eerily done. I like the fact that we got to see part of the Kalon ships going by and stuff. That was kind of neat.
That the Kalon ships, they could detach. That was, I don't think we saw that
Well,
before, right? Where
we
like
did, yeah, because what it is the outer hull is like they're like warp engines, I guess, and then they shoot out to be, the
Okay,
the
like in Star
fighter.
Wars, like you see
Yeah.
some ships in Star Wars that have that.
Yeah,
same
yeah.
function.
Obi-Wan Kenobi ship did that as well. Well, it had like the thing that let them jump, but
Right.
I get the impression that these are just like more or less like drone things. Like they're not actually like there isn't actively Kalon on these things. They're just kind of like seekers, kind of like those.
I think there are Kalon in them.
You think they're manned, or at least
Yeah, I think so.
Kalon presence?
Based on what we saw in the.
Oh, that's true. We did
Kalon
see those in
episodes,
that other one, right?
That
Yeah,
the Kalon
so-
do man their ships.
Yeah. So anyway, but these things are looking all over this asteroid field to find them. Obviously they had a trace and then they lost it. But we do get to see, like in some of the external shots, we get to see them looking for it. Pardon me. But yeah, no, it's. I thought it was well done. It looked cool. I love the tension on the ship. I like when they show all of them, and then instantly it goes to this. Like I would have liked to see how they got out of it, but
That's a
I
great
guess
Enterprise ending.
it is really an Enterprise.
Just all of
ending.
a sudden, crisis over.
Yeah, crisis averted. But anyway, so here's Kelly, and we see other Kelly, and Kelly's like, "Yeah, sorry, I was a bitch," and she's like, "That's okay, I was a bitch too at that time. At that point, she still is a bitch in some scenarios, but she kind of understands. 7 years ago, she would have been just like that, so makes sense. But she's like, "Yeah, no, I kind of get. I see now the respect that I have for you because of the fact that I saw what you deal with every day on the bridge." Stuff like that, which, yeah, okay, fine. I guess that's a way to say it. But the two of them are talking about it. And that's when these two jump in and go, yeah, we might have a way to do it. Maybe. We'll see.
If they used all the ship's power or something.
Yeah, they have to use an abundance amount of power to be able to do it. And she's like, yeah, no, this is great. Let's do it. And so they're, we have these two explaining it again, which none of us are going to get anyway. So I'm not totally sure why we had to go this route, but I guess they have to kind of make it look like they know what they're doing.
They have a
in reality.
PowerPoint ready, Jody. Let them have their PowerPoint.
Yeah, let them have their PowerPoint. It's fine. Maybe they'll have a Teams meeting next. Who knows? But basically, like I like this particular scene because everybody's looking at them like, what? Like none of them are getting it, right? Like it's like, yeah, okay, well, if it can take me back, let's give it a try, kind of thing. And she's like, yeah, no, I kind of.
Oh, but how are we going to deal with the temporal stuff? Well, we could erase her memory, but there's a risk of brain damage, so young Kelly has to opt into that. And,
yeah, which she does. So
but they didn't mention the risk that it might not work.
Yeah, and if anything, Claire's the failure.
And then Kelly says it does work. It has to work.
It has to work because
that's why I don't
remember
remember.
Well, but they specifically say that there's a risk of brain damage, but not that. Did they actually say there's a risk of it not working?
Yeah, that it not working.
Have they tried this mind wipe in the past and it's got a 50-50 percentage or something?
Claire seems pretty confident that the mind wiping part is going to work, just not the leaving the brain intact part.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing they could have done is like try to do the mind wipe and then try to verify if it worked or not, because you could just lock her in a room temporarily. You know, if she remembers 2 minutes of being on this other ship, that's not a huge change to the timeline, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's so.
At this point, you'd think that Men in Black technology would be available, you know, where they just flash you with the thingy and then you don't remember, but I guess not. What can you do? But anyway, she's like, yeah, no, let's give it a try. And Mercer's like, okay, set it up. So anyway, they go to set it up. At this point, we see her. They put her back in the same outfit that she had when she showed up. So
is that device up in the ceiling going back? Is that the same thing that they used to shrink down bananas in the original pilot? Like,
does kind of look like that.
It is actually.
It is.
Well, and that was technically about. That was a way to
Happy Arbor Day.
Yeah. What does that mean?
So it was a way to accelerate time. So I guess it is the same device.
I would have said, "You've got wood." That's better.
That's so much better. Yeah, that was Goofy season 1, when it wasn't as serious. But anyway, so they're all gonna give it a try. They've put her back in the same outfit she had when she showed up, so that way it would be just, you know, continuity wise, it would be good for her. And at this point, you know, they kind of say their goodbyes. And she's like, yeah, let's have a drink in 7 years from now. And she's like, okay, 8:00. Yeah, let's do it. Kind of thing, which I thought was kind of funny, but completely unnecessary. And then at this point, the two of them kind of part their ways, you know, blah, blah, blah. Mercer leaves, and then she kind of, he says something along the lines of, I'm really sorry, you know, because the next 5 years are going to be hell for you because of me, you know, that kind of thing, because, you know, I was an asshole and not attentive and all that. So, and Kelly clearly is, you know, she's getting the feels because of what he's saying. Current Kelly, I mean. And he's like, I'm really sorry. And he takes off, and then they leave her there with Claire. And then at this point, we see them, and they're initiating this. I guess they're using the engines to build up the amount of energy they need. Mm-hmm. So we have Lamar, and Lamar is working on it. He's got what's his name with him, Yafid. So anyway, we see Claire has now done the mind wipe, which is the thing where you just put it on the head and it works. Apparently, that seems to be a trope in most of sci-fi. But anyway. But at this point, she thinks it has, which clearly this is already a failed thing, because she does remember, because when she wakes up, we see that. But anyway, Isaac's like, yeah, no, this isn't working, guys. We need more power. So then they ask for more power. They give them more power. Yafid, you know, kind of.
Wouldn't that have been the more interesting maybe thing? It was like, it worked, but she was brain damaged like we thought. So we sent a brain damaged Kelly back to that year. Like,
that would and then instantly, like, current Kelly is just like,
yeah, she's just like, duh, you know. And
yeah, that would have been terrible, but funny at the same time. I hate myself for even thinking of that. But anyway, so at this point, Isaac's like, yeah, no, it's still not working. We need like another 15%. Lamar's like, yeah, no, you do that. We got a big problem, because like we're way past safety at this point, right? But anyway, so they end up doing that. Something just flashed on my screen. But anyway, so he says, let's get, you know, jack it up. So Mercer's like, yeah, no, do it anyway. He really wants to get rid of young Kelly, because, you know, this is causing problems for him. And then at this point, everything shakes on the ship again, just like it did the first time. And we see her, and then she is back now. She's back. She wakes up, and she's in the apartment that her and Mercer eventually share. And she's
back at the exact moment she left, right?
Yeah, but at this point, you see her like kind of in awe of what she's seeing, which leads you to believe, oh shit, it didn't work, because she's like, why am I here now? You know, like,
yeah,
so
you get this indication pretty early that she's not acting as you would think she would.
Yeah. And then a call comes in, and it's young Mercer, and Mercer's
wait.
Oh.
She's supposed to be hungover and everything. Do you guys feel like she doesn't look too hungover?
Well, she's not hungover.
Well, she's not technically hungover.
She just spent a week on the Orville.
All right, but even when she showed up the first time, she didn't look too hungover.
She didn't look too hungover, but I think Kelly is a pretty seasoned drinker.
Claire said, according to my medical scanner, she's hungover.
Yeah.
But Kelly is also a very seasoned drinker. As
somebody who was hungover yesterday, I tend to agree.
Were you hungover, Dave?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So she didn't sell it enough.
What can you do? But anyway, so Mercer's like, yeah, no, I know this is kind of makes me a bit of an uncool guy, but I really enjoyed our date, and we should do another one. And she's like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work out, and she hangs up on him basically. And she's like, yeah, no, and she just literally hangs up on him.
That's not what happened.
What?
Well, she did in the original timeline. She.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, I thought you meant
that.
I had that wrong. But anyway, that's the last scene as we see her kind of. She's shook, but you know that she knows what happened, right? Because at this point, we're kind of screwed for that. But that's the episode. But it definitely sets up the next episode pretty good, which is going to be the season finale, which is episode 14, which we'll be seeing next week. Which is the ramifications of what happens. I can't remember the name of the episode, but we can look that up later. But we have more important matters to discuss, gentlemen, and that, of course, is Reverb Ready.
Oh, yeah.
Fun facts with Adam.
Fun facts with Adam.
There you go. Fun facts with Adam. Let's make it happen.
It's called The Road Not Taken, Jody, the next episode.
The Road Not Taken. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get Adam over here. Adam, What do you have for us today?
Let's go. So Tomorrow, written by Janet Lynn, was one of the most difficult writing projects for the Orville so far. The episode marked a renewed focus on the relationship with Ed and Kelly. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, great.
Creator Seth MacFarlane wanted the relationship only to play a part in season 2 and not constitute the season's central narrative. Thank goodness. So this made a return to the season 1 themes. According to science consultant Andre Boromas, the writing staff was interested in time travel to serve as a vehicle for a story, but realized almost every possible time travel story had been written. And this one had too, by the way. It's really hard to find a great original travel story, he reflected.
Second Chances was not a time travel story, technically. So.
Well, true. You have to find a new approach that hasn't been done by any other science fiction shows, and that's pretty much impossible. Yeah, but that's they said the writing staff concluded that after Ed dated a younger version of his ex-wife would take a fresh look at things and a fresh take on time travel. Originally, this episode was supposed to be a self-contained story, but in the middle of season 2, that would reset when young Kelly returned. Until somebody on the writing staff suggested that when she turned, she would try to turn young Ed down. At that point, The Road Not Taken as a sequel was written, and they moved on to pair the episodes at the end of this season. Adrienne Palicki said in this episode, this was one of her most challenging roles. It was the hardest acting experience of her life. Wow. Michelle Boyd, who played Kelly's body double on camera, hair, makeup, and teams had to be standing by Palicki as she acted with one character, then dress her as the alternate character and reshot the scenes.
And then
then fuse them together.
So how many do we ever see the body double, or is it always just Adrienne Palicki we see?
I think you do see her. You just when they first meet each other in the medical bay.
Yeah,
I think when they're sort of walking around each other, you don't see. I think the young Kelly sort of looks away the whole time.
So back to my earlier question: if one could be hotter than the other, is it then maybe?
Maybe. I'm looking for a picture of Michelle Boyd. Actually, I can't find one.
Just checking.
I'm not sure that's really important, but anyway,
it's to me.
But it's fine, Dave. I understand. You have curiosities. I get it.
No. I think if it's the whole, I don't remember. I'm not going to get there. Okay, so the quantum accelerator, which we saw, the Aronoff device, was actually previously seen in the season premiere, as we noted very well, Dave.
Banana shrink ray.
That's right.
The banana shrink ray.
So
we must not have fear of the banana.
Right.
This title, guys, comes from William Shakespeare's Macbeth, Act 5, Scene 5.
Oh, okay.
And here we go. My bad, Shakespeare. She should have died hereafter. there would have been time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps into this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all of our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death.
All our yesterdays is a next original.
Right. That same passage provided the title for all of our yesterdays from 1969.
And there is a Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I said, are they ripping off the Orville? But I guess if it's a Shakespeare quote, they'll have fair license to use it.
Yeah. In Kelly's apartment at the end there 7 years ago, there's a picture hanging on the wall. Is the album cover for Escape by Journey.
Oh, okay. We've seen that before, though, haven't we?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
It was in her office. We saw it too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was in the office. So she must have took that picture with her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ed begins the season by engaging in a romantic relationship with Lieutenant Tyler and ends up pursuing a romantic relationship in this one with a younger version of Kelly. Both his romantic interests are blonde lieutenants from the science division that shouldn't be on the ship.
Yeah,
that's true.
This is true.
And again, I just the call out here. This episode shares a lot of similarities between Second Chances, where William Riker encounters a transport duplicate of himself. In both episodes, the ship's first officer encounters a less mature duplicate of themselves, and then encounters friction when the duplicate is placed under their command.
You know who Ed should have dated? Marina Sirtis's character, the new teacher.
Yeah, the new teacher.
That would have got Kelly back.
That would have got her back. Good.
Oh, you would date a teacher? I'll date the next teacher.
Yeah, we'll just keep switching teachers.
And it's just like a new teacher every season, and they'll just
because everybody keeps screwing up dating them, and then they leave.
Marina Sirtis probably didn't want to do one episode. No, I'm good. Yeah, maybe. I've got royalties going forever on this.
Oh yeah. She probably doesn't even have to work.
She's all right.
All right, let's leave it there as we're running a little long, guys.
Yeah, don't forget, Adam and I did half an hour before you two, so let's.
Yeah, I don't have sympathy. All right, anyway, let's get to our ratings here, guys. So, what are we gonna give this one, Adam?
6.
6. Okay.
Actually, you know what? I'm taking it down to 5. I didn't even really like it that much.
Whoa,
5. Wow. Okay, Dave, what are your thoughts?
I'll go like 7.5. I think it's decent, but I think that it's got, it's also, I have issues with it as well. So I think overall it's good.
Now, Kevin, you've given a lot of 10s this season. I'm thinking maybe this is another one. What do you think?
No way he's giving this a 10.
This is let's say 3.
A 3? Wow.
Kevin barely said anything, so I knew it was going to be hard. When he doesn't talk too much,
when he's quiet, it's going to be.
And when he does talk, he's angry.
It's so fucking boring. Like it's aggressively boring. Like when you guys were talking about, facing or second chances or whatever. I was just like, I didn't even think about it that deeply. I was so bored by that point.
Yeah.
I like.
It made me think, and I like that, but I'm definitely going to say that this is probably one of the worst episodes of this season. I'm going to give this a 5, but there are some parts of the thing that I liked.
IMDb gave this an 8.2.
Yeah.
8.2, yeah.
Oh, I just want Ed and Kelly episodes, like I just want
they need to be gone, yeah. And honestly,
Christ.
I don't think there's really any other standout episodes that I know of in season 3 that have to do with Kelly.
That are specifically about those two? I
don't think there is
a little bit in the finale, I think.
Like, a little bit in the finale, yeah. But
fine, if we get almost an entire season without it, happy.
Yeah. No, there's a lot more interesting things in season 3 to be dealing with, like the Kalon. Mostly. But anyway. But yeah, so as Adam said, 8.2 on IMDb, which just goes to show you not everybody knows as much as we do.
Well, I gave it a 7.5.
You did, yeah, you were closer to it. But we also know that sometimes Dave is very generous on his.
Sometimes I do average higher than Kevin for sure.
Yeah. And as you mentioned earlier,
I'm a bit more like you guys complain about Davin being up and down. I'm like that too with this show. Like, but that's the way this show is to me. It's either great or it's just.
but to
garbage.
defend you, Kevin, at least you make points as to why that is, which is something that Devin doesn't do a lot. So, but anyway, I won't get into the feud there. But anyway, as somebody already mentioned earlier, next week's episode is The Path Not Taken, which is basically the road not taken. Excuse me. So we'll be there for that. So that'll be our final one for 2024. And then we will be returning, I believe. Well, I haven't really cleared it with you guys yet, but I was thinking we would probably return back on the 6th of January. Does that make sense for you guys?
Davin's tuning in just to hear you slag.
He always has to tune in at that point, doesn't he?
He's like, "Are they talking about me?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. 10 everything. But anyway. But yeah, so I'm thinking we return in January 6th.
Kevin's handed out 4 10s this season. Come on.
He's handed
There's
out
been
4
some really great episodes this season.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you. I think all the episodes that he gave a 10 were really solid episodes. So.
You know, but I've also handed out a 2 and a 4 and a 3.
And Dave handed out the fictional 11, which I'm not totally sure why we even had 11.
That one went to 11.
Yeah, that one definitely went to 11. But anyway, of course, we all love Davin. 10s feel good. All right, Davin. That totally makes more sense now based on what I was thinking. But anyway, Dave, what else do we have going on? Because we have Jody, other things.
We do. Like I mentioned, Adam and I we did a 20-something minute podcast about the new Section 31 trailer along with Heather Narduzzi earlier tonight.
Can you spoil it and let me know if you liked it or not?
I thought it was fine. I thought it was like it was just kind of like one of those trailers, which is a bunch of action and quick cuts, so you can't really tell anything. But
now, I have to admit, I did quickly tune in for a second, and I saw that Heather was wearing one of her trademark outfits again.
She looked great.
She looked fantastic, and we always appreciate Heather when she does that. So,
I typically don't like to watch any Star Trek trailers, and
yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting when I saw you on there. I'm like, he usually doesn't like to do that.
I'm already in it now, so this is good. But it didn't give too much away. It just seen.
Yeah.
So
seen a couple lines. It left it ambiguous enough that
I'm hoping it's better than I think it's going to be, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll find out.
We'll see.
When is it? When is it releasing? 23rd?
January 24th.
January 24th is when it comes out.
Oh, 24th. Okay.
Yeah. Also, check out Davin's 12 Debates of Christmas on Debate 9. He's done 3 of them so far, looking back at some of the great debates that we've done on the channel and before on Locutors. I think I'm on tomorrow for the 4th installment with Davin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he'll drop a debate on me and we'll reminisce about old times. Who was the middle guy? Tonight it was... I think Adam was in the middle guy.
I think Adam's the middle guy tonight.
Yeah. Also, on Thursday, we will be doing our review of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 9, Fissure Quest, which is coming out soon. 2
more episodes left.
More Harry Kim stuff. Look out for that. Harry Kim with 2 pips, Jody. Look out. And then, of course, we have Star Trek Radio Theater coming up on the 29th of December. We're doing Star Trek Generations, bringing a great cast of all the Live Long and podcasters.
Oh, look at this now. We got all this stuff going on here.
Yeah, Jody playing Captain Montgomery Scott. We got Adam in there. We
I
got
don't
Kevin,
know
myself.
who Ensign Hayes is, but I guess I'll find out.
Who?
Ensign Hayes. Who the
No,
hell
he's-
is Ensign Hayes?
He's an ensign on the Enterprise.
Well, I get that.
And he says Enterprise D things.
So we got
there's
we
something
got
else in
Jeff as Picard. All right.
We got Jeff as Picard. I'm playing Data. We got Sean Farrick coming from Trek Culture to play Dr. Tolian Soren.
Awesome.
From this one.
Yeah.
So quite the cast coming in here, and a lot.
Sean's
of the
a
other
very
team.
funny guy too, for what I've seen.
Yeah. So
So,
look out for that.
should be
Live read
interesting.
on December 29th.
All right. Well, that'll be fun. I can't wait. Anyway, guys, we've run really long here, so I say we just say goodbye and have a nice day, and don't date 7-year
Younger
previous
versions of your ex-wife.
versions of your ex-wives, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. And,
Adam, you were going to say something?
good.
We'll see
Well,
you
you just
tomorrow.
point-
And tomorrow,
All
and
right.
tomorrow.
Anyway, tomorrow, and tomorrow. All right. And of course, I don't have that ready, so we gotta do that. But Dave probably does, but anyway. Bye.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.